All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're going to look at two real-world business decisions that force us to ask some really tough ethical questions. We're going to see how two very different companies tackled their problems and how a couple of classic ethical ideas can help us make sense of it all. Everything we're talking about today really boils down to this one single question. Is something good just because it has a good outcome, even if the action itself seems kind of painful? Or are some things just right or wrong on principle, no matter what happens afterward? Keep that question in your back pocket, because you're about to see it in action. So first up, let's head over to Shah Alam, to an electronics company we'll call Robo-Manufacture. They are standing at a major crossroads, facing a choice that could save their company and help a lot of people, but it comes at a huge, huge human cost. Okay, so to paint a picture for you, Robo-Manufacture is a big deal in their community. Right now, they've got 1,200 people working on their production lines, building the phones and laptops we all use. That's a lot of families counting on those jobs.
But here's the bombshell. To keep up with global competition, the company is looking at fully automating the assembly line. And the impact? It's just massive. 850 of those jobs, they're just going to vanish. We're talking more than 2/3 of their production workforce gone.
So you have to ask, why on earth would they do this? Well, the business logic is pretty undeniable. Automation would slice their labor costs by more than half. That means they could lower the price of their gadgets by a whopping 18%. For millions of customers, that's a game changer. And for the company, it's about survival. And when you look at it like this, wow, the numbers really tell a story. You see that giant bar representing the 850 people who are out of a job, many of whom are women between 35 and 50 who might really struggle to find similar work. Then you see the smaller bar, the 350 who keep their jobs, plus about 80 new high-tech roles. The imbalance is just, it's impossible to ignore. So, here we are. How do you even begin to make this call? How in the world do you weigh the very real, very deep pain of 850 families against the benefits for the company, its customers, and the workers who stay? Well, there's actually an ethical framework designed for exactly this kind of problem. It's called utilitarianism. It's a big word, but the idea is actually pretty straightforward. Basically, you forget about rules, you forget about intentions, and action is good if it creates the best possible result, the most happiness and the least pain for the largest number of people. It's kind of like ethical mathematics. You're just trying to make the final score as high as possible. So let's actually do the math here. We're going to apply what's known as the utilitarian calculus. Think of it as a balance sheet, but instead of money, we're tracking pleasure and pain for every single person this decision touches. And this table just lays the dilemma out perfectly. In the harms column, you have this incredibly concentrated, life-changing pain for 850 workers. We're talking lost income, lost dignity. It's serious. But then look at the gains column. The benefits are spread out wide. Millions of people get cheaper tech. The company doesn't go under. And the people who stay have more security. So a utilitarian has to ask a really tough question. Does all that widespread but kind of small-scale happiness truly outweigh that focused, intense suffering? So here's the bottom line from a purely utilitarian view. The automation plan could be the ethical choice, but, and this is a huge but, only if the company pours resources into softening the blow. We're talking real retraining programs, generous severance, help finding new jobs. If they don't do that, the sheer amount of suffering could easily make the whole thing unethical. The scales would tip the other way. Okay, let's totally switch gears. We're moving from a factory floor to a software company, TrackWise Solutions. And their ethical problem is completely different. It's all about privacy, trust, and what it means to respect someone at work. So their main product is called StealthWatch Pro. And yeah, it's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. You install it on an employee's computer, and it runs completely silent. It's logging every key they press, grabbing screenshots, tracking every website, and it can even turn on the webcam and microphone. The employee? They have absolutely no idea it's even there. And get this, the company is proud of it. Their own ads say it's 100% undetectable. The whole selling point is the secrecy. They say it's for catching people who are slacking off or for protecting company secrets, but the question is it okay to spy on people, even if you get the result you want? To figure that out, we need a totally different ethical toolkit. This is Kantian ethics, and it is the polar opposite of what we just talked about. For a Kantian, the results don't matter at all. What matters is the action itself. Some things are right and some things are wrong based on a moral duty or rule. End of story. So, how do you know what the rules are? Well, the philosopher Immanuel Kant gave us a really clever way to figure it out. So let's run TrackWise's whole business model through this Kantian test. The first test is called universalization. It's basically a thought experiment, and it's pretty simple. Step 1, state the rule you're acting on. In this case, it's, I'm going to secretly spy on people without their permission to help my company. Step 2, imagine that rule is now a universal law, like gravity. Everybody does it all the time. Step 3, see if the world still works. Is a functioning trust-based society even possible anymore? And you can see pretty quickly, that world completely breaks down. If everyone is secretly watching everyone else, trust is just gone. The whole idea of privacy or of an employer trusting an employee, it just evaporates. Society can't run that way. So the rule fails the test. You can't make it a universal law. Now, Kant's second big idea is maybe even more powerful. He said you have to treat people as an end in themselves, and never only as a means to an end. What that really means is you can't just use people as tools to get what you want. You have to respect them as human beings with their own goals and their own free will. And this is where StealthWatch Pro just completely fails the test. When you secretly monitor someone, you are treating them like a tool for productivity, a tool for profit. You're completely ignoring their autonomy, their dignity, their right to consent. You're using them, not respecting them. And for a Kantian, that's just fundamentally wrong, no matter how much money it saves the company. So we've looked at two really different situations through two totally different ethical glasses. Let's wrap it all up and see what the big takeaway is here. And this right here says it all. Utilitarianism is all about the final score. It's about the result. It's flexible, it's practical, but it can sometimes justify doing something that feels wrong to get a good outcome. Kantianism, on the other hand, is all about the rules of the game. It focuses on the action itself. It gives you a strong moral compass, telling you some things, like using people, are just always out of bounds. But it can also feel a little rigid, not paying enough attention to the consequences. And that brings us right back to where we started, but this time, the question is for you. When you have a tough call to make in your own life, what's your go-to? Are you a utilitarian, trying to calculate the best possible outcome for everyone? Or are you a Kantian, sticking to a moral principle that you just won't break no matter what? There's no easy answer, but just knowing which question you're asking, well, that's a huge first step. Thanks for tuning in.